Hey Goose, I'm so excited to talk with you today. It's so great to see you again. We last spoke on April 15th of this year, the day after your eviction. It's been almost 5 months since the BB 12 finale. How's life been for you since leaving the Big Brother Canada house?
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to talk to you again. Wow, April, that takes me back. But yeah, I mean, life's been good. I had a really good summer. Big Brother Canada's great, but you definitely need to relax a bit after. So I had a really relaxing summer. And now, yeah, I'm just trying to get back in the swing of things, find a job and whatnot. So yeah, life's good.
So the past 5 months have flown by, but what's been the most challenging part of transitioning back to normal life after Big Brother?
That's a really good question. I think the one that immediately comes to mind is your sense of time really like gets messed up. Like you don't have clocks, right? So like at first my sense of time was so all over the place. Now I'm pretty good, but every now and then I'll just totally like drop the ball on something time related. So that's probably the most challenging aspect is just getting like back to your sense of normal time.
So you said you're looking for a job. Your job was ESL teacher on the show, right? Is you're not doing that anymore?
Yeah, I taught ESL in Taiwan for a year. Part of me thinks I might teach again. Part of me isn't sure. To be honest, I get like more PTSD dreams from teaching than Big Brother Canada. So I think I want something a bit more like chill and low key for the time being, at least. And then maybe in a bit, I'll get back into that line of work. I've looked into it a bit, but yeah, I think for now, I'll try to get to something a bit more chill to start with.
So let's get into Big Brother 26. So who are your favorite house guests this season?
Big Brother 26, great season. Let's see, my favorite house guests. Chelsea, I really like Quinn. I was sad to see him go. And of course, I love Tucker, who wouldn't. Just wild content there. Uh, my top three favorites, I'd say, yeah.
What are your thoughts on Angela?
Angela, I mean, I'm not one of those people who are like on Facebook or whatever, being like, Angela needs to be removed from the show. I'm not the biggest fan of Angela. That being said, while I do feel like a lot of the fact that she stayed is more so despite her gameplay than because of it, she has done some things right. And I feel like the further along she gets, she is getting better at the game. She is making better moves. Uh, I don't think she's going to win if she does make it to the end, but I think she definitely is improving rather than degrading. So, and I will say, I love the charcuterie bit. I thought that was really good content. So, while I'm not a big Angela fan, I'm not like a straight up Angela hater. Like, I can appreciate some of the content. And I mean, if people like Angela, good for those people. That's the thing. I feel like they've done a really good job with casting this season. There's like someone for everyone, you know?
Yeah, I don't get the people that want Angela out so desperately. Plus Tucker and her bringing the entertainment, and once Tucker got out, she's the main source of entertainment. Everybody wants her out. I'm like, she's the whole show right now.
Yeah, she definitely adds a lot to it for sure.
So, does anyone on this cast remind you of yourself or anyone else from your cast?
Good question. Quinn reminded me of myself for sure. I'd be like messaging my buddy and be like, he just like me for real. And what else? I feel in terms of other people from my cast, yeah, I feel like they're very distinct. Nobody was really like, oh, this is like so and so who I played with. But yeah, Quinn though for sure. I was like, Quinn's kind of like the goose of the cast. Obviously, like we're very different in a lot of ways, but there definitely were similarities there for sure.
So, if you remember back to premiere night, the house guests were given the option to vote a 17th house guest into the game. Would you have voted for Ansley to come into the game?
Oh, definitely not. Like just like from game theory perspective, why would you have want to have one more person to compete against? Honestly, I felt like that was kind of goofy because I felt like it kind of rewarded the people who made the incorrect choice. I mean, not that it's like very cut and dry, but like if you're just going off of like logic and game theory and whatnot, like why would you want another competitor? I can understand if you thought, oh, this is someone I could align myself with. So it didn't totally not make sense to vote for her to stay. But I just, anyway, that's yeah.
Based on her like 1 minute intro video, Ainsley's video, would you think she would have been someone that you would have aligned with?
That's a tough call because like I pretty much like knew it was like some AI twist, right? So like I was kind of listening to it and being like, oh, like this does sound like AI. So it's hard to put myself in the place if I wouldn't have known. But I think there wasn't enough there for me if I had been in that position to be like, oh, I want Ainsley in the house. I don't think there was enough there for me to have decided to keep Ainsley.
Did you ever think that prior to them saying that Ansley was 70th house guest, that it would be a real person? Like last year, they were teasing a 70th house guest, ended up being Suri. It was a big deal. I always thought it was a real person. Did you ever think it was going to be a real person?
I think they talked enough about AI that I thought it would be some kind of like more AI type twist rather than a real person. Like well, they did like the AI thing, so I thought it might have been something kind of like that or something twisty. I wasn't entirely sure, but yeah, I was thinking it was something more like AI based rather than a real person.
So speaking of Ansley, what do you think of the AI theme this season and the AI arena?
The AI theme, it's not bad. It kind of reminded me of the theme in season 20, which I mean, it's funny because like on the one hand, I feel like that wasn't so long ago, but when I do the math, I'm like, I guess it actually was. But the AI arena, it was a good twist. I prefer the standard format, of course. But I mean, that's the thing is like you're always going to prefer the standard format. And you do need twists to keep things interesting, to mix things up a bit. And I will say one thing I love about the season is the twists. They feel like they're fair, and that's the mark of a good twist. If a twist happens and you feel like that's unfair, it's a bad twist. If a twist happens, you feel like it's a fair, it's a good twist. So yeah, I love Janky World, AI Arena. It's been good times.
That was my next question of what you think of the Janky World. Would you enjoy living outside like that for a week?
I mean, I think living in Janky World would have been difficult, but I think I could have handled it. Like I did a 14-day canoe trip back in the day, so like Janky World, I mean, yeah. The only thing I will say, I do like the twist Janky World, but I felt like the edit kind of like had like almost too much time of them being like, oh, they have to dance, they have to sing, and I kind of wanted to see other things. But from what I heard, the live feeds are kind of dead because of the Janky World experience, so maybe that's why. But overall, though, I like it as a twist, and I like too that it kind of people were saying online, which was a good point, that the kind of like shadowy players kind of weren't doing as well because like everything's out in the open. So I think that was interesting.
And how would you enjoy eating just the pizza and ice cream for a week?
I mean, I'm lactose intolerant, so with the ice cream, I would have enjoyed it, but I would have been farting a lot. And then the pizza, yeah, I mean, there's cheese on that too. So yeah, I mean, I would have liked it, but it might have gotten me in some trouble from the social game aspect.
So if you were in the house for this season, who do you think that you would have aligned with?
Who would I have aligned with if I was on this season? Definitely Quinn for sure. Probably Joseph. Maybe Chelsea. The thing is with Chelsea, she's the kind of player where like if she's your ally, it's really good, but if she's your enemy, you better watch out. So yeah, I think though Quinn and Joseph, I would have just been like, oh, these guys are kind of have a similar vibe. I think probably that. It's funny though, because like you never really know until you're in there. And also sometimes like you want to align with someone, but then you just feel they don't want to align with you. Like on my season, day two, I went to Dawn and I pitched an alliance with me, her, and Kayla, but then I quickly realized that she wasn't interested. So it's like you might think, oh, I'd align with this person, but if they're not interested, you're not going to beat your head against a wall usually. You know what I'm saying?
How would you navigate the big characters like Tucker and Angela? Would Tucker be someone that you want to align with from winning all these competitions? And what about Angela? How would you navigate her in the game?
Well, Angela and Tucker are definitely entertaining. I think as far as Angela would go, I'd want her out because I would feel like you can work with players who are more kind of like chaotic, but I feel like with her it was just too much. So I probably want her out. I would have wanted her out. And Tucker, like the guy just won too many competitions. Dennis won like a second POV, and I was like, Dennis has got to go. So like I would have wanted him out. That being said, though, if for whatever reason I ended up aligning with Tucker, while I still think I would have wanted him to go, I would have wanted him to go a bit later rather than sooner. But I think I definitely would have been looking at him as a threat. So yeah, I think well, you never know, right? I might end up working with Angelo Tucker, you never know, but I think odds are I would have wanted them to go probably before jury.
So we're down to the final seven. The finale's in 3 weeks from today. Who do you think is playing the best game right now?
I think Chelsea's playing the best game right now. She's been a very good, strong, consistent player. But I think a lot of people have done a fair amount. And I feel like everyone, the further along it gets, they're just getting better. I really liked, we saw a lot of good content from Cam and Mackenzie and Leah this last week. So it's definitely feeling like more of an even race, especially with T-Core going. So yeah, I think Chelsea's playing the best game, but I feel like everyone's kind of bringing out their A game at this point. It's going to be a good end game, I think.
What's been the biggest surprise for you watching this new season?
Biggest surprise watching this season. That's a good. I guess it's just been really like unpredictable. We've had a lot of flips, a lot of blind sides. Like for example, it's funny because certain things I kind of had a feeling would happen, but then it happens a completely different way. Like I felt Angela would make it far. I was like, oh, she's going to do really well, and she has made it far, but not in any way I would have expected. Even with Matt, the first boot, I was thinking he'd be more like a fourth boot, but I was like, I could kind of see him going early. You never know, but I wouldn't have expected him going out like that, you know. So there's been a lot of twists and turns, blindside votes and stuff. So yeah, it's been a good, unpredictable season. So it's been fun.
For me, one surprise has been that in the early game that people were volunteering for the block so easily. Cedric volunteered for the block, Tucker volunteered for the block, and we'll talk about that a little bit later about you and your season.
Yeah, that was surprising too, because I understand if like the HOH is based like, oh, would you be okay with being a pawn? I understand in that case you kind of go along with it because they're probably going to put you up anyway, right? And the last thing you want is to shift from pawn to target. So that I understand, but straight up going right up and being like, hey, pick me, I'll do it. That's a little bit too risky for me, but I guess with the AI arena, that made people feel more secure.
So is there anything else BB26 you want to talk about before we get into your season a little bit?
BB26, let me just think. I really like the shifts. Like we had the whole like Pentagon was kind of screwed, but then Cam and Chelsea kind of like regained their position. You know what I really like about this season? There's been a lot of raw human emotion. Like you can really tell people like going through their feelings, and I think that's always so interesting about Big Brother, because it's like everyone wants to play the game, but they're still humans at the end of the day. We've really seen some of that raw human emotion. I love the bit we just had with Cam and Chelsea and like the bed moving, because that's just such a like it's such a human thing, right? And it was just so interesting to see because the human things really tie into the game. So I really like that aspect of the season.
So I'm curious, how many BB Can and how many BBUS seasons have you watched? Have you watched all of them for both?
I've seen every BB Can season. BBUS, I'm working at it, but there's still a number I haven't seen. I won't do the whole like math, but I think I've seen maybe like 2/3 of the US seasons. Yeah. But even the seasons I haven't seen, I know what happens in them because when I was in university, if I was writing an essay, I would just like go into the Big Brother wiki and like kill time there. But yeah, I do intend to watch every US season someday and I'm working at it.
So how many times did you apply for Big Brother Canada?
I applied for Big Brother Canada 7 times. I applied from season 5 to season 12, every season in that space except for 11 because I knew I was going to Taiwan, so I didn't apply for 11.
And did you get far in the casting process at all in the previous seasons?
Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to talk about the casting process, like if I made it far. I mean, the show unfortunately got canceled, which is heartbreaking. So maybe it would be okay, but I'm very like better safe than sorry kind of person. But yeah, I am allowed to say that I applied 7 times. So if it does come back, people keep applying, and I hope it comes back.
So looking back on your seasons, is there anything that you wish you'd have done differently?
It's tough, you know. That it's funny because like a lot of things, it's based on what everyone else is doing. So it's like, I mean, you definitely have your own agency, but a lot of things it's just what everyone else is doing. But my season, things I could have done differently. It's really tough because like certain times it's like something's a mistake, but then it works out in a certain way. But I do think I probably should have just put up Bailey and Tola instead of Todd and Tola. Because on the one hand, like Todd being up kind of got us talking more. And I realized I really needed to work with him because we weren't working each other until like around that point. Then we locked in week 5. But I think if I didn't put him on the block, I think we would have kept talking. And so it would have been the same result. And I think with Bailey on the block, Kayla, Avery, and Spicy would have been more like kind of in defense mode and less like doing things that were going against me. So I think things wouldn't have really blown up for me. But I mean, you know, it's such a tough game. You don't have all the information, and there's so many different angles. Even like the movie Massacre, like it's like sure I could have maybe come up with a different plan, but it happened so fast. It was like I was just starting to formulate a plan to save myself. I just started to realize, okay, I am probably toast, and then it was time to vote, right? So it's really tough. Like just so many things happen. But yeah, I think probably I should have just put up Bailey and Toll instead. And yeah, that's something I think is a big takeaway for me is like in terms of noms, you should really not even think about the veto. If the veto happens, then deal with it. Because I got two in my head about like if the power veto got used and think that was a mistake.
So how about basically volunteering for the block in week 2 and 3, and you were nominated for the 5 weeks that you were eligible. So do you think because you volunteered basically that you became an easy target?
Yeah, I mean, that's tricky, right? Because the thing is, so week 2, basically Spicy was like, oh, would you be okay being a pawn? And we're talking through it, and I'm trying to push back a little, but I'm reading her as we're talking, and I was like, I'm pretty sure she wants to put me up. And if I push back too far, that could screw me over. And I felt like I'd be safe no matter what. Also, she said if it wasn't me, it was going to be Kayla or Avery, which probably wasn't actually true, but I didn't know that, right? And at the time, I wanted to go to Final Three with Kayla and Avery, and I was like, if one of us has to go in the block, it'll be me. I'm not a coward, right? Uh, so that week, I kind of think that yeah, I it was tough to play it otherwise. Also, too, I think if I did tell her not put up Kayla or Avery, she would have gone to them and said, "Oh, Goose said this," then I look like the bad guy, then I go up anyway. In regards to the third week, though, I really didn't want to go up that week at all. I was talking to Vivek and I was trying to think. I was like, hey, for now, I'll just be kind of more low key, like, haha, please don't. Maybe not a good idea. I get it, but like, please don't, maybe, haha. Then I went and talked to my allies, and Spicy hadn't done her 1-in-1 yet. And she said, I'll try to put in a good word for you. And I was like, okay, perfect. You do that. If it doesn't work or if it just doesn't come up, let me know. I'll go in there. I'll throw Todd under the bus. I wasn't working with Todd at the time, and I figured that if he's putting up Bailey anyway, that made sense, right? But then Spicy, when she finally comes out of there, she's just hanging on the group. So I'm trying to like pull her. And by the time I pull her, she's like, oh yeah, it didn't come up. I'm like, flip. I think she wanted me on the block. So she was just, yeah, I mean, that's the game. Anyway, though, so I'm like, hey, I have to talk to Vivek. And then all of a sudden it's time for Nom. So I really like I got in a beat the clock situation. So if I had more time, that's the thing. Like if I had more time for that week, I would have really like pushed hard to not be on the block that week. Movie Massacre. If I had more time, if I could have talked to Todd again, I think we could have come up with a plan to flip the vote. So yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's like sure, I could have pushed harder to not go in the block, but I think I survived the block because I wasn't a target. And if I'd pushed back harder, it's you never know. Hindsight's 2020. Sure, it might have kept me off the block. It might have helped my game, or it might have tanked my game. You never know, right? I made the decisions I thought were right at the time.
And do you think because you were nominated week 2 and 3 that it made you be an easy target for the rest of for the rest of the house guests?
Well, yeah, that's the thing for me. I wasn't like the kind of player who wanted somebody to be on the block 50 million times. I'd watch in the show. I'm like, that's boring. I don't like it. But too often, I would think that other people are thinking the same way I was. And I realized that wasn't the case at all. So, yeah, I think if I'd kind of been like thinking more about that, if I'd had more of an open mind about what other people thinking, I might have played it differently. But yeah, definitely once you get in the block, I totally see that now. It's just so easy for people to do it. So often people, they just want to not rock the boat even when it gets to like 10 people left and 9 and 8 and 7 and so forth. So yeah, I think I mean there's definitely things I would do differently if I could go back in time and do it all again, but hindsight's 2020, right?
Something that I'm still unclear on is week 4 when you were the HOH. If it ended up being Todd and Tola on the block, who would have went home?
Definitely it's funny because I even remember at the time feeling a little conflicted because at that time I kind of wanted to shift more. I was basically on Dougie's side of the house and then I switched to Spicy's. Then I was thinking of switching back to Dougie's, but his side really wanted Todd to go. And Todd and I, we really started develop. We always had a good personal bond, but we started getting a game bond that week. And I was like, hey, my head's got me in this current mess I'm in. I got to go with my gut. And my gut's saying Todd has to stay no matter what. So I was saying to Todd, like, if it's a tie, I'm keeping you, and that's not changing. And I would have kept Todd. And that's why when they did the executive veto, I picked Tola first because I wanted Todd to be safe. And even though Vivek going wasn't good for my game, Todd going would have been worse for my game.
How has your perception of the game changed now that you're a viewer again rather than a player?
I think the main takeaway that things are different for me as a viewer now is I really understand the emotional aspect now. I understand how hard it is. I was kind of a little like callous watching. I'd be like, oh, why are people hugging and crying all the time? Like, no, I get it, you know? Like I cried like twice a week, right? So I definitely really get the human aspect of the game more. And I think that definitely adds a layer of richness to the viewing experience for sure.
And BB26 has definitely been an emotional season that when the house guests get evicted, everybody gets emotional. It's because it's unpredictable that you don't know who's going home because of the AI arena.
Exactly, and that's the thing. If you can mentally prepare yourself to someone going, it's way easier. Like I remember, like when Vivek went, it was just such a like shock. Cause like I had no idea. Like he was safe, right? The twist got him up there and he was gone. Like everybody else before then, I can mentally prepare myself for them leaving. It still hurt, but at least you can prepare yourself mentally. With him, it was just sudden like that. So it's when you have more of a sense of what's gonna happen, it's definitely easier. When it's like you said, the AI arena, when you don't know who's going to win the arena. You don't know exactly who's going home. It's definitely more intense emotionally.
Have you gotten back to watching your season?
Oh yeah, I've seen my entire season. I still need to go through the dailies, but yeah, I watched my whole season. I think it definitely helped me come to terms with everything.
And your season was the first season since I think BB Can 5 that got an intro.
Yeah, we did get the intro. That was really fun and really cool. Yeah, I like the intro.
So how do you think that your season would go if you ran it back? If they put the 14 of you into the house right now, how do you think your season would go?
If we did it all over again, well, I don't think Dougie would make it to final two again. I don't think Spicy would make it to jury, and I don't think Bailey would win again. But I think she still would last a couple of weeks. Old Bill, she's a fighter. So yeah, I think too. I think as far as me, I'd definitely be more like overt, more. I was more of a defensive player. I'd be more of an offensive player. I'd be more cutthroat. Also, I wouldn't have to hide that I was such a big fan. So I definitely have more of these like kind of game type, like super fan type conversations. I'd be more straightforward. I think too, like everybody, it's like it's already happened, right? Everyone I think would be more in a like what I have to lose mindset. You know what I'm saying? It'd be more like intense in that way.
Why do you think that Spicy and Anthony weren't targeted being the two returning players?
That's a very good question. Well, for one, they're very good players and they played very well, so that's part of it. Two, it's everyone just kind of looked up to them as like almost like our parents, right? Like you're in this crazy experience of people who have done it before who just like they kind of can tell you about things a little bit like, oh, the have not period will probably last this long, for example. Just based on their past experience, they can guess about things. So initially that helps. Also, too, like with the what's it call it, the teams, whatever they were called, the entourages. You have that, and then Dougie's first HOH. They really had the chance to kind of lay the groundwork for what they wanted, the framework for what they wanted. And what else about it? I found too, people on my season, most of them, they were more focused on like assets, whereas me, my gameplay style is more focused on threats. But the thing is, if you're focused on threats, you're going to be looking at Dougie and Spicy as threats. But if your gameplay style is more about assets, you'll be like, oh, they're such good players. I want them to work with me so they're an asset. So I think that really helped them, and they were able to take advantage of that. If everybody in there was more focused on getting threats out, they definitely would have had a harder time. But people, their gameplay styles was just more focused on assets, I found.
Were you surprised at Todd being Canada's favorite house guest?
I wasn't surprised. We talked a little bit about it. He would just kind of quietly be like, "Hey, do you think I've gush?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I think you do." I was really happy for him. I love Todd. He was the only person in that house who like really had my back. He was my one true ally. He's a great guy, and I was super happy for him. And he was just really humble about it. Like, yeah, I was just really happy for him, and I could see why. He was the funniest guy in that house. He's such a good dude, and I love to. He would always say like I don't take things to heart. Like he played the game, but he like never wanted it to get personal. And I have a lot of respect for anyone who's able to do that because it is crazy in there, and like almost everybody's gonna say some things here and there that afterwards like oh maybe that was kind of mean or whatever. So to definitely overall play the game and never let it go too far, to never cross lines, and to just remember it's only a game. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for him for that, and I'm just really happy he won that.
So I'm curious. I don't remember the story exactly. How did you get the Goose nickname?
So basically, it was like the first day, and we were just talking about my laugh. It came up, and I mentioned I have a friend who refers to my laugh as going full goose. And Donna really liked that. So Donna started calling me Goose, and before you knew it, like everyone was calling me Goose. So I thought that was really cool, and I was like, "Flip! I got a nickname. I'm probably gonna at least make it 4 weeks in a year. I don't think they'll send me out that early with a nickname." So I was happy about it.
And I think Goose probably sounds cooler than Elijah.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of it adds like a whole like different element to like me as the big brother character, you know? So yeah, I'm really happy about it.
So who have you kept in touch with from your season?
I've kept in touch with everyone a little bit. I really did. I was surprised. I thought there'd be at least one person in the cast I would hate, but I liked everyone. Everyone had their good points. So I consider everyone a friend. Obviously, some people you keep in touch with more than others. Dennis doesn't live too far from me, and we're both nerds. We both love Big Brother. So I probably keep in touch with Dennis the most. But yeah, I think I've everyone in the GTA I've hung out with at least a little bit, and I think I've messaged everyone else who's not in the GTA at least a couple times, especially if you see they're posting on Instagram, you comment their story, whatever that helps. But yeah, like still consider everyone as a friend, and even for the people that don't live in the GTA, I'm hoping we can hang out in person again. I went to Newfoundland with Dougie, and we saw Todd there and a bunch of East Coast players. That was really cool meeting a bunch of East Coast Big Brother people. So yeah, I consider everyone a friend still.
More than half of the house, 8 of the 14 house guests were from Ontario. Is that something that could have ever happened as an alliance in the game?
Sorry, pardon?
That 8 of the 14 house guests were from Ontario. Was that something that ever could have happened in the game as an alliance, the 8 of you getting together being from Ontario?
I feel you. I mean, it could have happened because I feel like early on everyone wants to feel secure. So if there's some kind of like shallow like connection, they just latch on that, right? Like you saw there was a little bit of an East Coast thing that sort of happened. I found though the people in Ontario, almost everyone like was from somewhere else originally, whether it's from Ontario or the East Coast or whatever. So that kind of shuffled that up a bit more. But I mean, you never know. It could have been possible, but me, I always wanted to like go off of vibes. I didn't want to just be like, oh, let's make a glasses alliance or something, or oh, let's make a guys alliance. You know what I'm saying? I understand why those things happen. I'm not saying they shouldn't happen, but for me, I always love would see when people they just like eventually they realize like, yeah, like I love this vibe. Let's work together. You know? So that's what I wanted to go for, and yeah, eventually, I tried that, and I eventually really got it with Todd. Eventually, we just really like locked in for that last wonderful week before I got massacred.
So you were the only vote for Anthony to win. Did you think this was going to be the way it went down?
I thought he was going to get Lexus's vote too. In hindsight, when I saw he cut her at the end, and Bailey did play a good game, so it was like, oh, okay, I can understand why. But I didn't think I was going to be the only vote for sure. I thought it was probably going to be me and Lexus. I would have been surprised if anybody else would have put their vote on Anthony. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to be the only one. But I mean, I don't regret my vote. I thought Anthony played an amazing game, and I do love Bailey's game. I think Bailey's a deserving winner, and she did great. But like Dougie, he got people like backdoor their best friends. Like he did some really wild stuff in there, and I always believe give credit where credit's due. So I don't regret voting for Anthony. That being said, though, I love Bailey's game, and Bailey's a deserving winner, and I'm very happy about my season in terms of the outcome overall and how people played. I thought we had a really strong final two, so I thought it was a good conclusion.
And where do you think Anthony ranks among Big Brother Canada players, being a two-time runner-up?
I'd say Anthony's definitely the best player to never win. That's where I'd rank him, yeah. And I generally like put winners above people who don't win, but I think if I really thought about it, maybe I'd put him above a couple winners. Hard to say, but at the least, though, he's the best player who hasn't won, in my opinion.
What were your thoughts on the host, Arisa Cox?
Oh, Arisa is just such a professional. She's so good at what she does. Arisa's amazing. Yeah, I can't say anything bad about Arisa. She's fantastic. You can tell she really loves the show.
And have you become friends with any Big Brother Canada players from other seasons that live near you that you become friendly with?
Good question. I've hung out with Summer Affair Deal. She's pretty cool. Who else? Daniel C. I really like Daniel C. I mean, I met a fair amount of people and hung out a couple times. Everyone's so nice. Everyone's so great. But I feel like I've probably hung out or bumped into Summer Daniel C the most off the top of my head from other seasons. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think that's probably accurate. But yeah, everyone I've met's really cool and really nice. So yeah, it's a great community. I mean, we're not having to vote each other out anymore, right?
Yeah. And summer was my next question that you guys posted a video last month of you guys hanging out or was a skit or something.
Yeah, she wanted to do some content. I was down. I realized in terms of content, I like doing stuff that's more collaborative. When you told me you wanted to do this, I was down because it's like an interview, right? It's like two people talking. So I like the more collaborative stuff. So like when she wanted to do something collaborative, I was totally down. That was fun to do. I think a lot of people liked it. Some good comedy. So yeah.
Would you be down to do Big Brother again or do any other reality shows?
Oh, definitely. Like as far as Big Brother goes, like I'd do it every year if I could. Like you definitely need to relax after it's over, but then it's like you just get the thrill back. You just want to get back in there. You miss the thrill of the game. So yeah, I'd do Big Brother every year if I could in regards to other reality shows. I'd love to do another reality show, some more than others, of course, but at the end of the day, like it beats regular work. And so yeah, I'm down to clown.
So like Amazing Race or Traders Canada or anything
Yeah,
like
I
that?
do Amazing Race for sure. I just watched the season that just aired. I thought they had some cool stuff going on there with the challenges and the people and whatnot.
And
And yeah,
Kevin was on
Traders,
that.
I'm gonna watch the new season coming out. Ned is on it, so gotta support the Big Brother Canada family. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. I think I'd love to do Traders the most, sort of the other like ones that are available in Canada because Traders is basically like Mafia, and I used to play Mafia online all the time, so I think I'd be pretty good at it. We actually played Mafia in the Big Brother Canada house once, and like Spicy V was like doctor and playing cop or something. I'd never seen anything like that before. Anyway, yeah.
Did you watch Big Brother Reinder Games in the US this past winter?
I didn't end up seeing Reindeer Games. I think I was just too busy, and also it was more based on the competitions. And like, I mean, I get competitions, but that's not really my favorite aspect of the show. I'm more interested in like the strategy and the social and the manipulation and all that jazz.
How has your personal life or your career been impacted by your time on Big Brother?
I feel like I mean, I finished my contract, so it wasn't like I lost my job or anything. And I don't think any job is not going to hire me because I was on Big Brother Canada. If so, I mean, whatever, it's not meant to be. In terms of my personal life, it hasn't really changed that much. Like once a week, somebody notices me and I say hi, maybe I snap a photo. But yeah, like my family and friends are all super supportive and everything. So yeah, I feel like it's just really been a good experience. Nothing really bad came about of it. Out of it, there hasn't been any huge wacky change that's totally upended me. So yeah, I mean, I guess my life is different, but like not in a like super crazy way, not in a bad way or anything. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for future house guests based on your own experience?
Future advice for future house guests. Okay, number one, I wouldn't really think about the veto unless you're targeting someone who's already won the veto and taken themselves off. In that case, probably a backdoor makes sense. But otherwise, I would just put up the two people you want to be there in live eviction night. If the POV happens, then figure it out in the moment. Oh, and the other thing I'll say is if you're a pawn, the two things to remember, or number one, have a good campaign. Number two, don't do anything stupid. It doesn't always work, but it usually does. Those two things.
What are your thoughts on the Big Brother Canada's cancellation, and do you think it'll ever come back?
I think it's heartbreaking that got canceled, and I do think it will come back someday. I feel like worst case scenario, if there's ever another like writer's strike or actor's strike or something, they'll dust it off. But I'm hoping it's sooner than that. I hope that within a year or two, they're able to shop it to another network or streaming service or whatever. Because like production, like they really like put their heart into that show. They've given us 12 great seasons. Every season has had some memorable moments, some great people, just some it's a great show. I love Big Brother Canada, and Canadians have so much to offer in regards to reality TV, just showing the human experience. And like I got to live my dream, and there's so many people who have the same dream and haven't got the chance to chase it. So I really hope it comes back, and so other people can chase their dreams and play that beautiful game as well.
Do you think that they should let Canadians on Big Brother US? Because on Survivor, I know you watch Survivor, they let Canadians be on Survivor US.
Yeah, I love that they let Canadians be in Survivor because we don't have it. And in regards to letting Canadians in Big Brother US, I hope Big Brother Canada comes back. But worst case scenario, if for some reason it's done and the 12th season is the end of the beautiful journey, I hope then they would let Canadians play because like we have so much to offer. Like yeah, there's just we've had so many great people over 12 seasons, you know what I'm saying? Like just imagine who else is out there who could really play a good game, who could be a great player, who could be a great character, you know? Like there's so many more people out there who just haven't got the shot yet.
Who do you want to win Big Brother 26 versus who do you think will win this season?
I think I want Chelsea to win. I'm rooting for her the most, and I do think she will win. She's playing really well, but it's tough to say when it gets down to final five. Somebody might realize she's the biggest threat and take her out. I do think she will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe I feel like it's either going to be her, maybe Mackenzie or Cam. I feel like those three are kind of in the best spot right now, but it's been a really unpredictable season and like it's really opening up. So you never know, but I am rooting for her and I think she will win, but you never know.
Do you have any upcoming projects or events that you'd be excited to share with your fans?
Upcoming projects and events. Not right now, but I'm keeping my eyes open. You never know. I do write a fair amount, so I'm hoping to get something published eventually. So if any publishers are watching this, drop me a line. But yeah, you know, I'm the goose. I just live a day at a time, roll with it. And yeah, I'm sure you'll see some more content from me here and there and more interviews over the years. Who knows? Yeah, anyway, for all the people who are fans of the goose, I really appreciate you, you know?
All right, Goose, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to catch up with you and get your insights on the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great. Have a good one.
Thanks.